Forgiveness, Part 2. Got forgiveness? Let Jesus be your model. 1 Peter 2:21. Christ suffered for you. He is your example, and you must follow in his steps. In chapter 26, we looked at some basics on forgiveness. We must forgive or our fellowship with the Lord will be broken, and we must continue to forgive over and over again. Marriage takes two good forgivers. But there is more to it than that. A question I hear continually is, exactly how do I forgive when the hurts go deep, when I'm still smarting from no love or no respect? The Apostle Peter gives us a good place to start in today's key verse. Make Jesus your example and follow in his steps. We get the same idea from the writer of Hebrews, who tells us to put aside what can trip us up and run the race marked out for us, by fixing our eyes on Jesus who endured the cross for us. If anyone was hurt deeply, it was Jesus. I see him doing two things to forgive, and they are things we can do too, as we follow in his steps. Number 1, sympathize with your spouse. Try to understand what is causing the hurtful behavior. And number 2, relinquish the offense to God. Let it go. Don't let resentment fester in your soul. Sympathizing with your spouse may not be the first thing on your mind if you are the one who has been offended. But consider how Jesus responded to horrible mistreatment with patient forgiveness as he prayed from the cross. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Jesus forgave the Jewish mob and the Roman soldiers by looking beyond their heinous crime to see the ignorance, mindless fear, and blind hatred that was driving them. Although the slights and offenses suffered in marriage are trifling by comparison, you can follow Jesus' example and principle when your spouse offends you deliberately or unknowingly in any number of mundane ways that seem to be part of marriage. How? By trying to understand what might be causing the impatience, rudeness, or lack of consideration. Perhaps bad habits learned while growing up have surfaced. Maybe the cause is stress from work or from dealing with the kids' problems, or maybe it is fear of what one of you might think or say. The list can go on and on. But trying to identify the problem is only a start. You can't stop there. You need to talk about what has been happening. Express your hurt, but do it civilly and tactfully. Perhaps you simply need to let someone know your air hose is getting seriously pinched. Or it could be time to speak a difficult truth with love and respect. In all such conversations, you know you can follow the example of Jesus because you are married to a person who has basic goodwill and does not intend to hurt you. As you sort out your feelings together, remember that you cannot expect success if you come to the negotiating table begrudgingly. To get somewhere, there must be a forgiving spirit present, obviously in the one who feels wrong, but also in the one who has done the offending and may be feeling defensive or have reasons to feel offended also. Truth be told, you both may have some forgiving to do before it is over. And do not neglect to relinquish the offense. Give your pain and frustration to God. Refuse to hang on to remnants of an unforgiving spirit. Yes, I know the hurt may still linger, but trust God to help you let it all go. When Jesus suffered, he kept entrusting himself to him who judged righteously. And you could do the same in the midst of lesser difficulties. When you sympathize with your spouse, you will tend to speak with understanding and compassion instead of anger and judgment. As you entrust your wounds to the Lord, you will lower your expectations for total healing from your spouse, and that will create a calmness and wisdom in your approach. Will you kiss and make up? Perhaps, but most important, Jesus has been your example. You have followed in his steps. Thank the Lord Jesus for example of how to forgive. Ask him for the wisdom and grace to try to understand, and then let it go. Forgiving truly hurtful offenses is a delicate area. If you have issues of this kind, come together and talk about how to confront the situation, not just each other. You may want to review chapter 16, Feelings Aren't Facts, Always Sorted Out, as well as the chapters previously mentioned. If one spouse feels very hurt, the other must reach out to understand. Talk together with God, asking for his help while addressing the hurt.